So you're a big journal guy, huh?
Yeah, I've been journaling since college, and it's just part of my daily habits, daily routine. Try to start it in the morning, um, and then when time permits, and I'm up, I'll do it at night as well. And yeah, I love it. It's part meditative, part reflection. Hello, good afternoon. Part just time for myself, quiet time. I love it.
What do you write? What's the main thing that you're writing in there?
The main thing that I'm writing, I usually will go through the Daily Stoic book, and I don't follow their day by day ones, but I'll pick something out of there as a theme, and I'll write about that and maybe how it's affecting my day, how I'm thinking about it, how this past week has been, using that theme, and just gives me a little bit of time to come out of myself and think critically about what I'm doing and how I acting and the emotions and everything that's going on in life. And that's where I start. And then the other part of journaling is just what I'm doing, who I'm meeting with, what's there to remember. So I do a lot of travel, and I want to remember the cool things that I'm doing. Like, I want to write a book someday. I want to be able to flip back through these journals as somewhat of a travel journal as well, where I've been, what I've experienced, what I've learned along the way. And it's making me more intentional about those things. What I've realized is if I don't have much to journal about, I'm kind of wondering, what am I doing? Like, if I don't have something to reflect upon, that's almost like a red flag for me. So I use the journaling in many ways of kind of calibrating what I'm doing. Am I working on the things that get me excited and I want to write about? Or am I kind of spin my wheels on something? So it's something I look to quite often.
What does live consciously mean to you?
Live consciously is something I've been writing in the top of my journals for years. And to me, that means living with intention, being deliberate, being focused on living in the present and also looking for the future, such that you don't let various things throughout your life take you off your path or distract you, or you just don't go with some random flow throughout life. You're directed, you're still open to new things, but you're not treading water. And for me, when I think about the idea of living consciously, it's something that weaves right back into the journaling, but it's something that is a good reminder. It's like, hey, am I spinning my wheels? Am I not focused on the right things? And can I be more deliberate with my goals, with where I want to be, with what I want to do, with who I want to meet, with my business, with my fitness, with training, with races? And just being really, really intentional about all the things that I'm doing. So it's a big part of me.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're hitting it this morning?
Of course. Yeah. Of course. These are the mornings I love.
What happened this morning?
This morning it was perfect. So we wake up, we were talking earlier and I said, hey, let's get a workout in. I'm here in Chicago, perfect opportunity. And first things first, it's like, I like start my day with movement.
This guy suggested 9 a.m. after a Friday night.
Yeah,
after a Friday. Make it 10.
Yeah, it's like, let's make it 10. And so, we started out, of course I did my journaling, I did some meditation this morning, but we got going and we hit a strong workout. I love that. That gives me energy and it gives me confidence. It gives me, everything to set the pace for the day. And we got a big workout in. We got a little sauna, a little hot tub, focused on recovery. Started this conversation, and now it's only, it's just noon. We've accomplished so much today. That's living consciously to me.
And we're actually just walking around. Our boy's staying in the peninsula and his room is getting serviced. So we're just kind of strolling and we just pressed record because I thought this was important. I think the live consciously thing, mantra, if you will, I think mantras are really important, just guiding principles. whether, something my father told me was like a man's reach should exceed his grasp, right? And it really spurned this constant achievement oriented Kaizen mindset where it's just like, okay, I'm very happy with where I am, because the other thing he told me was I was sad because I had no shoes until I met a man with no feet. It's like, yeah, being very grateful, which I know you practice gratitude quite a bit, but also simultaneously chasing excellence, right? And for you, how many years has Orange QC been around?
Yeah, I started in 2009, so we're 16 going on 17 years.
17 years. And what is Orange QC?
Yeah, so OrangeQC is a software company that provides quality control inspection software to facility teams. So we work with large facilities, airports, universities, big commercial buildings, anything that needs to be tracked. So cleaning, disinfection, safety, maintenance. You could think of it as paper checklists that a lot of teams use today. We're a digital version of that. And I started the company back at college. And a little fun fact about the name OrangeQC, which we oftentimes get from our customers, like, why OrangeQC? So obviously I'm on the Illini, so the colors are orange and blue. And also when we were starting, the companies and the teams that we're serving are facilities teams. They're cleaning companies, they're cleaning teams. And you always think of cleaning chemicals being very citrusy. And when we were coming up with names, I just love the idea of giving kind of credit and nod to where we started. We started as students at University of Illinois, and also who we serve, being the cleaning and facilities industry. So it's a great nod to that in our story. But yeah, we've been, started in 2009 and have been growing, and we're profitable. We're bootstrapped. We didn't take outside funding. And even in the whole living consciously idea, I want to build my company very consciously. And I want to build on my terms and what's important to me and our customers and where I want to go with the impact that we can have in the industry, not necessarily being taken by some of the maybe fads or things that are in vogue in the industry. It's like, let's do things that matter. Let's focus on those and build a company that's going to be around for decades. And a lot of our customers, and those even being large facilities like universities, they've been around for decades, 100+ years. We want to be good stewards to them and build in a similar way, long-term, continuously improve, be the best in class tool. Focus on the customer first, not investors, not all these other things. Focus on the customer first. And those are the things that are important to me. And they're by proxy, they're also very important to our customers. And I think that's why we've been as successful as we've been.
How did you even get the idea for this? Like on our campus, so much deep tech is pushed, right? Or our software-based companies, given our CS program. And by the way, if you're listening, there's some really cute children running around. You might hear them in the background. Not ours, not that we know of. Anyway, how do you get an idea? I mean, traditionally, like the term in our world would be, this is like an unsexy industry. Like where does one as a student get an idea for this?
Yeah. So number one, I love unsexy industries. Those are the absolute best. And a quick aside, we're in the facilities industry. We just got back from the largest facilities conference in the country, if not the world, for clean and facilities and maintenance and disinfection. And there are 15 companies in total that were software vendors at this conference. It's mind-blowing. There's nobody building great software for quote unquote unsexy industries. And I take it as a compliment. Like, I like quote unquote unsexy industries, and I like being in an industry that has a direct impact on how people interact with a space or an environment or an airport and all these things. That's more rewarding to me than, say, a photo sharing app. And when we think about the building and how I originally got started, so in college, I was just an IT guy for a cleaning company. So I was doing IT work for a few different companies remotely. And, I was still down in Champaign. I was in the dorm, and, I had to go up to Chicago from time to time and travel and, fix computers and, things like that you did back in, the 2000s, 2010s. I don't even know if people do that anymore, but I was doing that kind of work and, making ends meet just so that you had enough money to, pay for pizza and beer when you're a college kid. And it was fun. I learned a lot. I love always being a tech guy. I love always being in working with customers and trying to help them with technology. And during the course of that, I was working with one of these cleaning companies, and they had tasked me with setting up some of these software tools to help them take paper checklists for cleaning and such, and have them do it digitally. So at this time, it was on like Palm Pilots. And I'm the one setting these things up and doing the training. And the short of it is, it was nothing but like pain and suffering. This software was so bad. It was so enterprisey. It was not built with ease of use in mind. It was not built with a customer in mind. So I set up a few of these systems for them. And the short of it is, it didn't, those software were so bad, they never got used realistically. And after doing that enough times, it gave me the idea of saying like, hey, I'm a CS student. Like I could build my own version. And at the time it made so much sense. I'm like, well, I know at least I'll have one customer. Let me reach out to him and ask him. I was like, I didn't do all this business plan and projecting and all this other stuff that I know a lot of people do. I said, let me just build it for one person that I know really needs it and is desperate for software that's going to serve their organization and help them improve. So I reached out to him and said like, hey, I've got this idea. Like I'm kicking the tires on like, we could build this other software. It's going to be way better. It's going to be used. At the time, the iPhone had come out during this era, and then subsequently the iPod Touch, which was absolutely critical for us starting at the time that we did, because the iPod Touch, for those that don't know, is kind of like a iPhone. It was just like no cellular. It's cheaper. It was like, so we actually built it, designed for the iPod Touch. And, I asked him, I said, hey, if we built this, would you guys, be our first customer? Would you use it? And they turned to me and said like, yes, like, when can you have it ready? I'm like, have it ready? We literally just thought of the idea like 30 seconds ago. Like we have nothing built. They're like, well, if you can build it, we'll be your first customer. And that was enough of an encouragement for us to start. And so that was the summer of 2009, where we basically took the summer at Enterprise Works, built version 1, and then the very first deployment was, shortly thereafter at University of Chicago Medical Center, which is one of the clients. So that was like deployment number 1. And so we were on there, on the ground, boots on the ground, literally setting this up with whatever it took to make them successful. And, through the course of that was our first customer. We had some revenue coming in, and we were fortunate in that basically everyone else in the industry had the exact same problem. Either paper or clunky and enterprisey software that didn't fit the bill. And we just brick by brick get more and more customers. We did Cozad, the following year, which was a helpful thing, because it actually forced us to think critically about the business plan and the market and all these things. So we kind of backfilled a little bit of that information. But the great thing was we already had revenue. We had customers that wanted the software and reaching out to us and signing up for it. And it, I think, gave us a lot of validation. We ended up winning Cozad that year. I think in large part,
Cozad is the largest student startup competition at the University of Illinois. I think this year there were 200 companies. So I know he's casually mentioning it, but it was a big deal. Like all of us kind of look at Matt and follow in that footsteps. He's a Cozad legend.
But thank you. I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate it. Was, yeah, it was fundamental, because even back then we had a little bit of funding. The prize money now is incredible. Back then it was much less, but for us, like, we were like, hey, we just have some revenue coming in. We're building a business. That little bit of seed money, if you will, that came in from Cozad helped us invest it right back in the business and the things that we needed at that small juncture of when we were in Champaign to keep building. And so today, we've got, thousands of teams, hundreds of companies and various universities and such, and, thousands of users and such that are using the software. And it's terrific. Most of our users are in, say, the US and Canada, and we do some international, but we get to see and experience the spaces that we help, which I absolutely love. So, one of our clients that we did a case study with on the website is the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. So 3 of some of the busiest airports, if not the busiest airports in the country, are tracking and improving quality using our software. So I'm just so proud and grateful of my team and the work that we're doing, but also the journey to go from building this essentially effectively in our dorms to, now serving huge facilities that are incredibly critical to people and travel and your environments, and being able to just always be building, always be improving, but also do it on our terms. I love it.
Yeah, no, I like that. And speaking about your terms, today it's almost a flex to raise money, right? And raising money it is a business model. I'm not saying it's the best, but you did something which is really cool, which is bootstrapping, which I feel like is not talked about at all nowadays. Everyone's pushing. We're raising this round. I'm like, okay, so where's your product? Where's your traction? What was the decision? How'd you come up to that decision? And yeah, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so it was actually very early on, following Cozad. We had a little bit of money from Cozad, and one of the local like venture capital companies at the time, they had some, I don't know if it was a partnership with Cozad or some degree, but there was some seed money that they would provide your company for a certain piece of equity. And thinking about it, I don't remember the exact figure. Let's just say it was 15 or $20,000, something along those lines. I'm like, man, for basically a broke college kid, that's a lot of money, and that would really be helpful. So I got to thinking about, I loosely considered it, but then I called one of my mentors at the time and said, hey, I'm building this thing. I've got some early traction. We've got some customer revenue coming in, but we're a small business, or we're basically making ends meet barely. And I've got this offer where I can get a little money that's going to help, extend our runway ever so much. And the thing that he told me that was incredibly impactful, he said, well, Matt, he's like, you're building this business. He's like, I love that you're bootstrapping it and you're growing it. He's like, if you really need the money, come to me first. He's like, and I'll write the first check on better terms than you're getting right now. He's like, I don't think you need the money. He's like, but if you need it, come to me first and you've got it. And I, thanked him for that. And it gave me that little nudge of encouragement that was like, hey, well, I've got it in my back pocket if I really need it, but maybe I don't really need it. And so we ended up, turning down that money, and I think it was the right move. And I never had to go back to my mentor to, to ask him for money, because, by the time we had a little bit more momentum under our belt, we just brick by brick, we're a SaaS company. So we have that recurring revenue, and, over time, you are in it long enough and you're building a good enough, a great enough product that people are going to stick with it. And it just stacks very well to effectively create a durable business. And yeah, we never ended up raising money. It's not to say never, but the idea of, I think, the very sexy or in vogue, oh, we're raising money, we're publishing all these numbers. The raising of the money in my book doesn't count. It's like, what's the outcome of that money? And I love being able to be focused and putting each dollar into the things that I think are going to be impactful for the business, versus you get this big influx of cash. And then the question is like, where do I spend this big bunch of money? And I know the 37 Signals folks, Jason Fried and DHH, like, would talk about this, where the easiest money to spend is other people's money. But when it's your money, when you're a business owner, when every dollar that you're spending, either frivolously or not well thought through, that's money that at the end of the day is not going back in your pocket as a business owner. It's not going back in the team. It's not going back. So you're hyper focused on every incremental dollar that comes in. How do I use that to level up as a team? And honestly, I like that hunger. I like that sharpening of my thinking. Both my parents are accountants, so I was born and raised with, P&L and everything, like, deeply ingrained. I'm from the Midwest, so I think there's a culture around building and being self-sufficient and, rolling up your sleeves when you need to. And I think that stuck with me. And I think the bootstrapping mentality, it just aligns with my values, how I want to build, how I like building. The raising of the money and the glitz and glamour, excuse me, that's associated with it. It's just not for me.
Yeah, no, I think bootstrapping and just having your controlling your destiny, like it's super important. But different strokes for different folks. But I feel like bootstrapping is not talked about enough, and just the ability to, what is it, build on your own terms. I think that's really important, because at the end of the day, like, the reason I like startups is I see it as a way to build dream that you want. There's no work-life balance. It's work-life integration, right? And so, like, if you're going to do this thing, why not do it on your own terms, right? And you alluded to something which is really interesting, which is just almost the positive reinforcement that your mentor gave you in terms of pushing that. And and that's something we talked about downstairs at the pool at the Peninsula. We're talking about just like energy, right? And just surrounding yourself with the right energy. And I used to think it was more like something too abstract or hippie, but I've noticed a lot more because we were discussing this earlier, how while there are a lot of differences in upbringing, our jobs, even the types of fitness that we enjoy, and at first glance, people might be like, "What are these two doing together?" But then you only need 2, 3 minutes of conversing to know that we're very much on the same line. And I feel like it's really important. I've been learning a lot more to. I feel like those relationships are probably really critical for you as well, right? Like really surround yourself with people that are not probably like. It's probably very hard to find someone that's you know doing everything. It's impossible actually to find someone that's doing everything the same as you. But I think you drive a lot of energy from finding like successful people in different industries, right? And different walks
100%.
of life, right?
Yeah, when I meet somebody new, founders or otherwise, the thing that I always try to maybe approach the conversation with is like, what is the one thing that they're doing that's best in class, or that's a unique or different way than how I would think about it or how I'm doing it. And that it doesn't need to be a perfect copy. And this is one thing I learned going from being in my 20s into my 30s. In my 20s, I think I looked at people to say like, hey, I want like their lifestyle or their type of company or their type of growth. And you can't just copy paste someone else's experience. Rather, what you can do is look for the things that they're exceptional at and that you could learn from, that you could integrate into your own life and level up in those key areas. And so the conversation always comes up is, oh, would you switch lives with somebody else? And my answer is no. Like now there are things when I meet people that I'm like, wow, I love how they're doing this in fitness or training or Ironman or business or growth or their finances or relationships, and try to learn from them in that area and that discipline and see where I could integrate that into my own life.
Yeah, no, I think remove the envy, always be a student and enjoy the journey, right? I mean, you just spoke about fitness. So our boy is ripped. We were just in the steam room in the sauna, and I was like, "Good gosh, I'm a little fluffy." Thank God, thank God it's winter. So you're an athlete. What do you train for? I know you're in the off season right now. What do you do?
Yeah, so I've always been a runner. I was always into lifting, but most recently I just started getting into triathlon, and it started out in kind of a really maybe like I stumbled into it, I'll say. So I was running, I was doing some races. I've done a few half marathons, and then one of my friends in Nashville where I live, he's a big cyclist, and he's very successful. He's been part of like bio and like pharma companies, and he's retired now. But he was like, hey, he's like, we should go ride. And it's like, I haven't ridden a bike since I was like a little kid. So I was like, Mark, like, I don't even own a bike, not here at least. And he's like, well, he sent me some recommendations and pick up a bike. And we got to training. And that was our weekend thing. We'd get together, we'd hit, a long ride. So we were doing 30, 40, 50-mile rides. And he was like, hey, he's like, we're going to sign up for this race. I should say the race was part of it. He's like, we're going to sign up for a race. And I'm like, Mark, what are you talking about? Like, and he's like, you're going to love it. He's like, we'll train all winter. You're going to be great at it. So we trained, and yeah, we were doing all these long rides in the weekends. And we talk about like structure and process and being intentional. Like I had a training plan. I had my nutrition dial. This was last year. And we ended up doing the 58-mile Hincapie Fondo in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is very hilly. But it was the first bike race I've ever done. Like I've never even done a bike race. And I show up and people look like they're in the freaking Tour de France. Like, and I'm like, what on earth did I sign up for? Everyone's all kitted out with all this super high-end stuff. But I was hooked. I was hooked. It was so much fun. The training, the journey, the race was a lot of fun, but I'll be honest, it was the times riding with Mark and him being, essentially a mentor in many ways and a close friend. I'm catching up with him. I'm bouncing ideas off of him about business, about life, about family, etc. And I mean, we're training for 4 or 5 months, and it was a blast. And you race and have a complete ton of fun, and you get to experience and push yourself beyond what you even think was possible. Like it started that year, I didn't even know I could even ride that long. And just being able to push those boundaries step by step was really instrumental to me. And it told me I actually have a lot left in the tank. I'm 37 or 38, excuse me, just was 37, just a short bit ago. And I'm like, man, I'm doing more now in my 30s than I was doing in my 20s, like fitness wise. And I'm setting PRs, I'm doing these races. And, through the course of that, Mark was kind of doing a little inception with me. He's like, oh, maybe you should think about like triathlon, next year. I'm like, okay. So, now I'm getting into swimming, something that once again, like when's the last time I swam? Like when I was a kid. So I'm learning how to swim, and it's actually quite a bit more difficult. I was talking with Kara from Top Tier, and it is very, very difficult as like an adult learning how folks are swimming. So I did my first triathlon early this year, and the folks that could swim, they're like a dolphin in the pool. Like, and I am all out redlining and trying to swim, and folks are just so much faster, having grown up with it. So it's an area that I love because now I could have a structured training plan and structured goals around how am I going to improve that and get better at it. And, my goal is, ultimately to do the Chattanooga 70.3 Ironman. And that's something that's like, okay, well, you could set the goal and set the structure and set the trajectory, and anything's doable, anything's accomplishable.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. So first things first, a long bike ride for me is like 3 miles from West Loop to here. So, but second of all, I was reading National Geographic lately about how a lot of records for athletes in their 20s, there's not tremendous progression there. There is, but a lot of the records and PRs are being set by athletes in their 30s, 40s, 60s, 70s, actually. And a lot of them were actually not athletic throughout their entire life. So we have like grandmas picking up powerlifting. We have a lot of elderly gentlemen picking up endurance sports. So it's really neat, right? Because you're talking about this decade for you and how you're learning these new things, staying injury free. But I think that the coolest thing about all this is just the mindset that shifts, because when we're younger, obviously we have all this uh, uh, advantages in terms of hormones and energy and all that, but like just a lack of awareness of what we're capable of. But now it's just like we're doing a lot more, but we're capable. And not only that, enjoying it, right? Enjoying every rep, enjoying every pedal. I'm just like, I get to do this instead of I have to do this. And I think that's something I'm noticing with a lot more athletes, like as they progress. And that's a really, I think, helpful thing for people to hear.
100%, 100%. One of the things that stood out to me when I was talking with Mark when we were getting into cycling, I think he's 55, maybe. He's in his mid 50s. For his 50th birthday, he did the Leadville 100 mountain bike race. 100 miles through the mountains in Leadville, Colorado, at 50. That was his like birthday gift to himself. And I didn't even think that was possible. And to hear someone that's, he's always been training, he's been doing, Ironmans and all these things. And that was a goal that he set, and he accomplished it later in life. It told me, that the story that I've always heard, growing up and then in your 20s and, post college and all these things where it's like, oh, your 20s are your best years. You're going to peak and you're going to be downhill from there. That is 100% incorrect. What I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing for myself, like there's still higher peaks to reach. There's still higher goals to achieve. There's a lot left in the tank. And I think there's a degree of mindset to it and a degree of focus. We have so much capability of doing more. And that's what some of the fitness and the training has taught me. It's like you can do much, much more than you even thought is possible. And having the right support network, the right friends, the right training, the right structure, the right goals, that's what sets you up to hit those.
Capable beyond measure. I think, when I was in Africa during a long ride, one of my friends asked me to draw like how I viewed my life. And maybe Kilimanjaro influenced this because I was going to climb it, but I drew a giant mountain, but you couldn't see the top because of the peaks. Peaks were covered in clouds. And the whole thing was like, it's infinite ascension. You keep climbing. You're very happy with where you are. Sorry, very grateful, right? Happy in terms of being, in terms of existence, but just continuously climbing, 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 and getting the most out of life with the zest. And you don't know what's on the other side of the mountain, and that doesn't matter. But just like you're just gonna continue enjoying this, right? So I guess Matt, what's next for Orange QC and you?
Thanks. And so Orange QC, what my goal, personally and professionally is, I really reflected on it at this most recent customer conference that we had in Hawaii, which the teams that we met with, they're there to build multi-generational, multi-decade businesses that are durable. That's something that's growing, that's serving their local community. That's something that's building something that they're proud of, that their family's proud of. And that's really stuck with me. And my family, or my parents, who they themselves run their own small business, it's something that I look for what we're doing with Orange QC of how do we keep that vision for what I've had and what I've experienced going. And with that, it's hiring the right people, developing the right best practices, the right standards. How do we do things where future people that are future team members, even beyond myself, are able to take what we're doing and take that vision forward many, many, many years out in the future. So thinking incredibly long-term as to how do we build this for many, many decades beyond what people talk about, retirement and all these things. Like, I want to build a durable company that teams can depend on and rely on, and putting the things in place today and investing in those things today that are going to allow us to do that. So that's what gets me excited. And that's something that I take that from the professional side and also think of that on the personal side. Like, what are the things that I still want to do and I want to do long-term, and I want to train long-term. I don't want to, we were talking about injuries and such. Like, I want to be doing this and living an exceptional, fun, exciting life and adventure for years. So what are the things that I could keep doing that set me up for that and set that trajectory? That's what I care about. So this is the quote that I always reflect on in my journal. Living consciously is about taking control of your life. It's about thinking about your decisions rather than making them without thought, about having a life that we want rather than settling for the one that befalls us.